Hi loves, it's Elle and welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for being here and happy Foundation Friday. Today we're trying a brand new foundation that just hit the shelves recently and I've been wearing it and I want to give you a full review. So before we get started, hit the subscribe button, share this video with somebody you think might like it, and let's do it. Alright, so today we're talking about the brand new launch from Urban Decay. I have a little helper here today. It is Urban Decay's Stay Naked Hydromaniac Tinted Glow Hydrator 24-hour wear. All right, so this foundation, I'm in 30 Light, and it's actually a pretty good match for me. The color selection is great. Obviously, that's Urban Decay's MO. It is $29, so I find the price point really reasonable, and it is, let's see here, it is 1.1 fluid ounces, so it's more than a traditional foundation, so that's awesome. Now, what they say about this, I think this is an interesting foundation. This is a long-wearing foundation, which today it is going to get tested. The other day it got tested as well. I have a lot to do with my daughter today and her little friend, and so it's going to get its wear. This says it's a long-wearing foundation infused with kombucha filtrate and marula oil for 30% more hydrated skin. So kombucha also is a probiotic too, so just that's interesting. There's not enough in here to really give you that probiotic, prebiotic, you know, ingredient in here, but it is in here. It says it's a medium coverage. It says a medium coverage and a glowing finish. Okay, like I said, it's just a medium coverage, radiant finish. And it's also vegan and of course cruelty free. Let me show you. So I've worn this a couple of times because like I say, I don't love doing first impressions on Foundation Fridays. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But most of the time I want to give you a real solid background in the best way to apply this foundation for my skin type. I am a normal to dry skin type, which this foundation is obviously made for. I think oilier skin could wear this. Just prep your skin really well, not super hydrating underneath, and definitely a mattifying primer because it is quite a bit glowy. The first time I wore this, I wore it with the Josie Maran Tinted SPF, and it was way too slippery and way too glowy. So if that's the one you use for SPF, don't use this with this foundation. I've today used the Rejuvis SPF. All right, so how I'm starting with the Elle Putty Primer, just the basic one. And I noticed that in the middle of my face, I mean, literally it's been like 100 degrees here almost every day, and not a ton of humidity, but enough that I need a little bit of primer in the middle of my face, which, you know, some days you do, some days you don't. I've done my regular skincare routine, which is obviously Essence, Rejuvis Serum, a little bit of Neogen Moisturizer, and the Rejuvis SPF. Okay, so there we go. We got our primer on, ready to rock and roll. A little bit of lip balm. So a little bit goes a long way with this foundation, which I absolutely love. Okay, so for this foundation, I normally would use my Elle Putty Primer foundation brush. I love this thing, but I just washed it and I thought it would be dry, but it's not. So I'm just gonna use any old foundation brush. Okay, so I'm gonna put literally about that much on my skin. I love the how you get it out. It's really customizable. Okay, so the best way to do it for me personally, because this is such a glowy foundation, is to put it on with a brush first, then press it into the skin with a sponge. And, oh, I got primer up in my hair. Going crazy today. And I do put this underneath my eyes a little bit. If you have a lot of creasing under the eyes, of course, as we always say, don't put it under the eyes. But look, you guys can already see how glowy this foundation is. Yeah, it is really, really glowy. So if you don't love glowing skin, this foundation probably would not be for you. Or I would put a mattifying primer on underneath. Like, look, this kick right here is all from that foundation. It is so glowy. I'm just gonna put a little bit more on my hand. So I would think that maybe probably to do my whole face, it's a pump and a half. And I do love that it is medium coverage. It is not super, super heavy. And you can, of course, put this on with your hands. I have done that as well. I just find that there's really no difference than putting it on your hands and putting it on with a brush. They kind of just do the same thing. But look at that. So, I'm going to show you something though real quick. All right, so that is like literally one pass. Look how good it's done on covering up my hyperpigmentation. It feels really lightweight on the skin. So now I have my very lightly damp beauty blender, and this is just to press this into the skin to get rid of any brush strokes. There's nothing on this sponge just yet. Okay, so let me show you. So what I find with this foundation, which honestly, it happens with quite a few foundations for me, is it does not cover my nose very well. I know a lot of us have problems with this. I actually have a whole video on how to make the nose kind of have foundation stick to it, but I'm not gonna do those techniques today. But this is pretty typical with especially a glowy foundation for me. The nose does not like a glowy foundation. That's why I usually just use concealer on the nose and not really worry about the foundation. Because do you see, my nose still is not covered. So it looks really good even with primer underneath it. It looks really good on the rest of the face. I'll let you see it. So I really like it. I think it looks really pretty. It is just what they say. It looks like skin. It is a medium coverage. It is very glowy and hydrating. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put concealer on my nose like I normally do, and I'm going to do the rest of my face, but before, I'll show you what I do to kind of lock this in. All right, so just eyes and stuff are done. So for this foundation, if you're wondering what concealer I'm using, it's just the Milani, and for my eyes, I'm just using the Milk makeup that I talked to you guys about. I love it. Okay, so for this foundation, I do set it. Now, I don't set it the whole thing, but I'm going to set it with my Kosas Cloud Powder. But I definitely have to set the center of my face. That's just where I sweat the most. And I also think that this powder doesn't set it like so matte, and it still keeps everything looking nice and fresh. Now, you notice I haven't really set the perimeters of my face. I just am setting the center of my face because, again, this is mostly where I sweat. So here we are. I think the foundation's really pretty. And like always, we're going to go to natural light so you guys can see it on my actual phone too. So let me just put my lips on and I'll be right back. By the way, Urban Decay sent me a couple of their brand new launches. By the way, I bought this myself. That was not PR. But this is PR. I did say Urban Decay. It's ColourPop. They have their Fresh Kiss glossy lip stains. This is really pretty. This is in Sugar Snap. And so it's a stain and a lip gloss in one. I really like it. That's a beautiful color. Okay, let's go to natural light. All right, so as always, we are in natural light. Look how pretty it is. And I love that Kosas powder over it. You absolutely could set it with a translucent powder if you needed to be less glowy than this. But I think that the foundation looks really nice. It's done a nice job on covering up some of my imperfections. And let's give it a good wear test. We're going swimming. We're gonna be out in the heat. So we're gonna do a few check-ins and see if this really is 24-hour proof. All right, so just last looks before we get into our day. All right, you guys, I'll see you in a little bit. Hi. Again, happens all the time on Foundation Friday. It is a little bit later than I expected. Actually, it's beautiful outside. It is about 3:30. No, it's about 5:30. But we just got back from the pool. I have done just a touch gardening. I just totally forgot to film it. But this is 7 hours of wear on this foundation. Why don't you take a look? I think it looks pretty good. Okay, it's definitely worn off on my nose for sure. And when we were in the pool, I didn't necessarily like get wet, but I got splashed a little bit, and I can't really see anything that's really going wrong on the skin here. So overall, all in all, I think it's a great foundation. I think it makes the skin look very pretty. It definitely doesn't stay on, for me personally, on this whole section of the face, which is pretty typical. But let me know if you guys have tried this. Do you guys have this? Are you going to try it? What you guys think? And I'll see you in the next one. Lots of love from me to you. Bye, loves.